The golden child's downfall. It started with a wedding invitation that never came. I was sitting in my cramped studio apartment, scrolling through Instagram when I saw it. My brother Marcus's engagement photos plastered all over social media. The same brother who hadn't spoken to me in 2 years. The same family that had written me off as the disappointment. I should have seen this coming. Ever since I'd chosen art school over law school, ever since I'd refused to join Dad's firm, I'd been the black sheep. Marcus, meanwhile, was the golden child, Harvard Law, 6-figure salary, the perfect girlfriend from the perfect family. Everything I wasn't. The photos were nauseating in their perfection. Marcus in his tailored suit, Jessica in her designer dress. Both of them glowing with the kind of confidence that comes from never having to doubt your place in the world. The caption read, "Celebrating our engagement with family and friends who matter most." The knife twisted deeper with every heart emoji from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. I scrolled through the comments, watching aunts and uncles gush about what a perfect couple they were, how they deserved all the happiness in the world. Where was this support when I'd won my first art competition? When I'd had my first gallery showing? Nowhere. Because my achievements didn't fit their narrow definition of success. The photos showed a lavish engagement party at our family's country estate. I recognized every face. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends. Everyone was there. Everyone except me. My phone buzzed. A text from my cousin Sarah. "Did you see? Marcus is getting married next month. The whole family's invited." Well, almost everyone. She followed it with a crying laughing emoji, like my exclusion was some kind of joke. I stared at that message for a long time. Sarah had always been the messenger, the one who delivered family news with just enough cruelty to make it sting. She'd done the same thing when I wasn't invited to Christmas dinner last year, when I was excluded from Dad's retirement party, when they had a family reunion and somehow forgot to tell me. The knife twisted deeper when I called Mom. "Oh, honey," she said in that patronizing tone I knew so well. "We thought you'd be too busy with your art projects. Besides, it's a small wedding. Just family. Just family." The words echoed in my empty apartment. I'd been erased from my own bloodline. "How small?" I asked, though I already knew the answer would hurt. "Well, just the immediate family and close friends. Maybe 60 people. 60 people. In their world, I wasn't even worth a place at a table of 60. But what they didn't know was that I wasn't the struggling artist they'd dismissed. 3 months ago, my digital art collection had sold for $2.3 million. I'd been quietly building an empire while they'd been writing me off as a failure. The same childish doodles they'd mocked were now hanging in galleries across 3 continents. The same waste of time they'd criticized was now generating passive income that dwarfed Marcus's salary. I had money now. Real money. More money than any of them had ever seen. And I was about to teach them exactly what family meant. The irony wasn't lost on me. For years, they'd measured my worth in dollars and cents, dismissing my passion as financially irresponsible. Now that I had more money than all of them combined, they still couldn't see past their own prejudices. They were so committed to their narrative of me as the failure that they couldn't even recognize success when it was staring them in the face. The plan came to me that night as I stared at Marcus's smug face on Instagram. He was getting married at the Grandview Manor, the most exclusive venue in the state. The same venue where our grandfather had gotten married, where Dad had proposed to Mom. It was tradition, legacy, everything the family held sacred. I remembered being 8 years old, walking through those gardens with Grandpa, him telling me stories about the family history, about how important it was to carry on traditions. "This place is in our blood," he'd said. "Someday, you'll understand." Now I understood perfectly. They'd written me out of the family story, but they couldn't write me out of the family blood. I made a few calls. Money talks, especially when you have enough of it. The Grandview Manor had a strict no competition clause. They wouldn't host any events that might conflict with their reputation. But what if someone were to book their sister property, the Grandview Gardens, for the exact same date and time? I spent hours on the phone with the event coordinator, a woman named Margaret who clearly recognized money when she heard it. "A private art exhibition," she mused. "How unique. And you're willing to pay double the usual rate." "Triple," I said. "I want this to be perfect." It took 3 days and a substantial deposit, but I did it. I booked the gardens for a private art exhibition, my coming out party as a successful artist. I invited every major art collector, critic, and socialite in the city. I made sure word would spread. I made sure it would be the event of the season. Then I waited. The call came from Marcus himself, 2 weeks before the wedding. His voice was tight, with barely controlled rage. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" "I'm having an art exhibition," I said calmly. "Why? Is there a problem?" "You know exactly what you're doing. The venues are literally next door to each other. The parking situation is going to be a nightmare. You're trying to ruin my wedding." I let the silence stretch. "Ruin your wedding?" "Marcus, I wasn't even invited. How could I ruin something I don't know about? Don't play games with me. Cancel it." "I'm afraid I can't. Contracts have been signed. Deposits paid. You understand business, don't you?" He hung up. But I wasn't done. The next call came from Dad. "What's this nonsense about an art show? You're embarrassing the family." "Embarrassing?" I laughed. "Dad, I'm finally successful. I thought you'd be proud. Remember when you told me I'd never amount to anything? Remember when you said I was wasting my life on childish fantasies? Well, guess what? Those fantasies just bought me a house in the hills and a gallery in Soho." "You're lying." "Am I?" Check the art market reports. Check the gallery listings. Check the auction records. I'm not your disappointment anymore, Dad. I'm your most successful child. The silence stretched. I could hear him breathing, processing, trying to reconcile this new reality with the narrative he'd built about me. "If this is true," he said finally, "then why are you doing this? Why are you sabotaging your brother's wedding?" "I'm not sabotaging anything. I'm celebrating my success. You know, the way families are supposed to do for each other." The silence on the other end was deafening. But the real masterstroke came when I hired the same catering company Marcus had booked. Same florist, same photographer, same everything. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. The vendors were contractually obligated to my event, the one with the bigger budget and the earlier booking. I didn't just steal their vendors. I upgraded everything. The photographer Marcus had booked for $3,000. I paid him $15,000 to be exclusive to my event. The florist they'd hired for $2,000 worth of arrangements. I commissioned $20,000 worth of installations. The caterer providing a simple dinner for $60. I ordered a 7-course tasting menu for 200 of the city's most influential people. Every vendor made the same choice. Business is business, and my business was bigger. The guest list for my exhibition read like a who's who of the art world. Gallery owners, museum curators, private collectors, art critics from major publications. People who actually understood the value of what I created. People who saw me as more than just a disappointment in a designer dress. 2 days before the wedding, my phone exploded with calls. Mom, Dad, Marcus, even his fiancée Jessica. All of them screaming, threatening, begging. The wedding was falling apart. No flowers, no food, no photographer. Jessica's call was the hardest to take. She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her words. "Please," she choked out. "This is my dream wedding. I've been planning this for 2 years. I've tried everywhere. No one has availability. The backup photographer wants $20,000 for a 2-day notice booking. The florist wants $15,000 for basic arrangements. We can't afford it. My dress cost more than we have left in our budget." I felt a moment of sympathy. She was innocent in all this. She'd never excluded me from anything, never made me feel less than. But then I remembered every family gathering I'd been excluded from, every achievement they'd dismissed, every time they'd made me feel like I wasn't good enough. "I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it. "But I can't cancel. Too many people are depending on this event. I'm sure you understand." "But we're family," she whispered. "Doesn't that mean anything?" That's exactly what I asked myself when I wasn't invited to your engagement party. When I wasn't invited to your bridal shower. When I wasn't invited to your wedding. What did you tell me family meant then? She didn't have an answer. The wedding that weekend was a disaster. I watched from my exhibition as guests wandered confusedly between the two venues. Some ended up at my art show by mistake and stayed for the champagne and canapes. Others couldn't find parking and left altogether. I stationed myself by the window that overlooked the manor's entrance, watching the chaos unfold. Guests arrived in their wedding attire, only to find handwritten signs directing them to various backup locations. The ceremony had been moved to the manor's smallest room. The reception was in the basement function hall. The photos were being taken by Marcus's college roommate with an iPhone. My exhibition, meanwhile, was a triumph. The space was transformed into a wonderland of light and color. My digital art pieces were displayed on massive screens, creating an immersive experience that left visitors breathless. The New York Times art critic was there, taking notes. The curator from MoMA was in deep conversation with a private collector about commissioning a piece. I watched as influential people from the art world discovered my work, really saw it for the first time. They understood the complexity, the emotion, the years of dedication that went into every piece. They saw me not as someone's disappointing sibling, but as an artist in my own right. "This is extraordinary," whispered the gallery owner who'd been courting me for months. "You've really outdone yourself." I smiled, watching through the window as my brother struggled to console his crying bride. "Thank you. I wanted tonight to be perfect." Dad approached me during the reception, his face pale. "I had no idea you were doing so well." "You never asked," I replied simply. "Maybe we could talk about you joining the firm. We could use someone with your creativity." I smiled. "I'm afraid I'm too busy with my art projects." Mom tried next. "Honey, maybe we could have dinner next week? Catch up." "I'll check my schedule. I'm quite booked these days." But the real confrontation came from Marcus. He found me on the terrace, away from the crowds. His tuxedo was wrinkled, his face flushed with anger and humiliation. The golden child looked tarnished for the first time in his life. "You destroyed my wedding," he said quietly, his voice shaking with rage. "Jessica's been crying for hours." Half the guests left. The photographer we managed to find last minute was terrible. The flowers looked like they came from a gas station. "You destroyed the most important day of my life." I turned to face him, really looked at him. His hair was disheveled, his bow tie crooked, his eyes red-rimmed. He looked like he'd been crying too. "I didn't destroy anything, Marcus. I just stopped hiding. This is about the invitation, isn't it? Fine, I'm sorry. We should have invited you. Are you happy now? Are you satisfied with your revenge?" I leaned against the terrace railing, looking out over the city lights. "You still don't get it, do you?" "Get what?" "This isn't about an invitation. This is about 15 years of being treated like I don't exist. This is about being told I'm not good enough, not smart enough, not successful enough. This is about being erased from my own family. You were never erased. You just chose a different path. And you punished me for it. All of you. You made me feel like I was nothing, like I was a mistake. Do you know what that does to a person? Do you know what it's like to achieve something incredible and have no one to share it with because your own family has written you off?" His face softened slightly. "I didn't know you felt that way." "Of course you didn't. You were too busy being the favorite to notice that I was disappearing. Too busy being perfect to see that I was drowning." The silence stretched between us. In the distance, I could hear the music from my exhibition, the laughter of people who appreciated my work, who saw my value. "So what now?" Marcus asked. "Are we done? Are you cutting us off forever?" I looked at him, really looked at him. For the first time in years, he wasn't the golden child. He was just my brother, confused and hurt and trying to understand. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I'm not going to apologize for succeeding. I'm not going to make myself smaller to make you feel better. If you want me in your life, you need to accept who I am. All of me." He nodded slowly. I think I can do that." It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a reunion. But it was a start. 3 months later, I bought a house in the hills overlooking the city. It had a studio with floor-to-ceiling windows and enough space for all my dreams. I threw a housewarming party and invited everyone, including my family. They came. All of them. They walked through my home, saw my success, met my friends from the art world. They saw me, really saw me, for the first time in years. Dad pulled me aside as the party was winding down. "I owe you an apology," he said quietly. "I was wrong. About everything. I let my own expectations blind me to who you really are." "Thank you," I said. "That means more than you know." "I don't suppose that offer to join the firm is still open?" he asked with a small smile. I laughed. "I think I'm good where I am. But maybe we could collaborate sometime. I know some artists who could use legal advice." It wasn't the reconciliation I dreamed of as a child. But it was real. It was honest. And it was built on respect rather than obligation. As I watched my family mingle with my friends, I realized something. I hadn't destroyed Marcus's wedding to hurt him. I'd done it to save myself. To prove that I mattered. To show them that the black sheep could become the shepherd. And in the end, that's exactly what happened. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.